Outlook. With Lisa Kelly and Louie De Palma.
Welcome to another episode of The Outlook with Lisa and Louie, and today's theme is
the DNA of a change maker.
And we know how that important it is to any organization, Lisa.
It's really, really true, Louie.
Yeah, it's what drives people. You know, what drives people to create success. And success is based on the climate that one creates in their organization, one that is welcoming, one that's inclusive, one that includes diversity.
And when we talk about DNA, it always makes me think of like the raw ingredients, the raw materials that you have and how they fit together and how they're coding for success.
Yeah, absolutely. And today, you know, for the purposes of this episode, we're looking at change makers as individuals that really drive that inclusivity in their organizations.
Yeah, through innovation. And I also think that we're going to be talking to organizations that have started a business, so creating change through a completely new idea. And we're also going to be talking to some businesses that have, you know, really created change through incremental progress or improving the existing way of doing things.
And that's really innovation.
Yeah.
And innovation is the key to success. It's the key to competitiveness. So when people have that idea, like that little seed in their minds, right? It's so important to take that seed and nurture it by looking at your entire organization and kind of vision it as to where you want it to go and what you want it to look like before it actually gets started. Because trying to do it later is extremely difficult.
Exactly. Change makers, we need to hire diverse talent so that we can have a workplace that, you know, embraces not only diversity, but equity, inclusion, belonging.
You know, without differences of ideas. Like for example, you could have 10 of me in your workplace and you're only gonna have one idea. If you have 10 different individuals in your organization, you're going to get 10 different ideas around that boardroom table, which is really, really helpful in driving a company forward.
I like the way you put that, Louie. And change makers value workplace culture.
Absolutely, and you'll get better employees.
Yeah, I think you'll get a whole better culture. And again, back to that, driving innovation and profits.
Absolutely. And that takes us to today's hot topic.
Valuing the role of people with disabilities in the workplace. So let's get real. We know that Stats Canada tells us that people with disabilities are more likely to be underemployed or unemployed than people without disabilities. Why is that? Well, we'll take a breath, and I'll tell you it's usually to do with unconscious bias or stigma. That's unfortunate. That's something we can actually control and think about. So we don't set about doing it, but we make assumptions about people's abilities, what they're able to do, how they might do it. The reality is that if somebody's doing the same job, they should be able to be paid in the same way. So that brings us to job postings. We really need to think about what we're asking people to do, and are we paying them to do it? Are we actually asking and advertising for the skills and qualities we're going to hire from? Think about the last time you wrote a job posting. Did you ask somebody that they required 3 years of entry-level experience? If it's entry-level, folks, it's entry-level. Are you asking for driver's licenses that aren't needed? And of course, the ever-present great communication skills. What does that even mean? Written communication skills, answering emails. So we need to really start thinking about what we're asking for in our job postings and then hire for that. We also need to understand the entire package and value that people with disabilities bring to the workplace. We already mentioned in previous episode that people with disabilities tend to stay longer on the job, higher retention, but they actually improve overall company retention as well. They drive innovation, and that's the piece that really excites me. Different experiences, different perspectives allow us to create change in the workplace. So think about curb cuts. For those of you that aren't familiar with that, that's the part of the road where traditionally on a sidewalk there'd be a 90-degree angle. But instead, we've created sidewalks that slope down to the road, allowing people who use mobility aids, perhaps a wheelchair, perhaps a walker, a cane, to be able to access the road. But that perspective, and that change was actually driven by somebody with a disability, that actually allows everybody to use that curb cut. And we see examples like that throughout the workplace. So think about automatic doors. Think about checklists for people who learn differently and can remember. Innovation is driven by different perspectives, and different perspectives come from hiring a diverse workforce, including people with disabilities.
Well said, Lisa.
Thank you.
And now it's time to move to our feature segment for this episode. We're going to be speaking to Julie Cole, co-founder and senior director at Mabels Labels. She's a change maker and an innovator.
Let's go meet her.
Thanks for joining us, Julie.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So tell me about Mabels Label. How did it get started?
Yeah, so Mabels Labels, I actually can't believe it. It's 19 years old now. We just had our 19th birthday. And in some ways it feels like a million years ago. In some ways it feels like it was just yesterday. So Mabels Labels started for two reasons. One was that we noticed there was a product missing from the marketplace. So all it really is, it's such a simple idea, but our labels are just dishwasher, microwave safe, personalized labels for all the stuff kids lose. So, on the bottles and the sippy cups. And as moms, me and my co-founders, we were losing stuff everywhere. We were trying to label with permanent marker and masking tape, and it just wasn't doing the job. So the first answer to why was because the product was missing from the marketplace. And the second reason was because at the time, my then 3-year-old was just diagnosed with autism. And I joke that I'm a recovered lawyer, but when Matt got his diagnosis, he already had 2 younger siblings, so I was already a busy mom. But I knew that the traditional workforce wasn't going to suit me anymore. I wanted to really be able to focus on his therapy program. I wanted to be able to advocate for him. And so that's when I went to my co-founders and I said, now's the time for Mabels Labels, what do you say? And we have not looked back since.
So inclusion sounds like it's important.
Right?
Because of your son, but you built it into the company too, right?
Well, and that's the thing. When you start a company, you have the unique experience of being able to create your very own culture, your very own company culture. So for us at Mabels Labels, obviously inclusivity is important. It's important to me as a business owner, but also as a mother, and wanting to make sure that our kids are included and have inclusive workplaces. So it was a really unique opportunity, and from the very start, inclusivity has played a role, particularly people with disabilities.
Exactly. So what does that look like?
So it looks like a bunch of things, really. First of all, I guess our first employee who lives with disabilities is my aunt, and she would come in for an hour every day and do things like, first of all, chat with everyone. She was everybody's favorite person at the office, and she, did our paper shredding and cleared our coffee mugs and did errands for us, and she was just such a vibrant personality to have, and it made us really realize the value what a diverse workforce has. It's so boring when everybody's the same. So what it looks like is in our hiring policies, in our interviews, and just making sure that, everybody feels welcome for who they are.
And this isn't easy to do, is it? How did you do this? I talk to companies all the time, and we talk about inclusivity, we talk about diversity, we talk about how diversity leads to innovation. Yes. But there must have been a process you followed. Can you just give us an insight into that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was very instinctive for us. I mean, obviously we follow, the laws, and we make sure our HR is, on point. But again, it was about creating a set of core values. And to me, core values are what make a company, and we hire and fire by our core values. And one of our core values is around inclusivity. So, our core values aren't just a sign on a wall, they're a living, breathing thing. And just making that a part of your culture is just so important.
Totally by design. It wasn't an afterthought. I think this is key what you're saying. Because when I talk to organizations, they put their policies in place, they put their processes in place, and then what they try and do is they try and build in that accessibility, that inclusivity side of it. And that's really difficult, right?
Right. And you know, I think for us too, another sort of unique experience we had was that because we built this business as moms, like we literally were doing like business plans during play dates and changing diapers and changing the world at the same time. But we learned and saw that we could be very productive in non-traditional ways and in non-traditional times. So that not everybody has to work the same way, you know?
So it sounds like DNA, like inclusion is part of your DNA.
Exactly. And I think to your point, if you're just trying to do it as an add-on, it never feels authentic and it never feels real, and it doesn't feel that way for your team, right? So I think by making it a part of that DNA, that is where you truly get that inclusive feeling.
Thank you so much for this information. We want to continue this conversation, but we do need to take a break. So we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back.
Looking for a job? Let us help. Connect to an inclusive employer in Ontario who wants to hire you. Check out discoverability.network and sign up today. Looking to find talent? Let us help. Seize the opportunity to advance your business. Check out discoverability.network and sign up today.